Okay, it is 12:26 now, and I'm going to call the meeting back to order. And next up, we're talking about the operating budget, and Tiffany Farrell will be doing that, starting off that presentation. So when you're ready, Tiffany.
Thank you through Mayor DeVete. The operating budget will begin. So this is the operating budget summary. This is a high-level overview of those operating budget changes. Each of the individual departments will be discussing some of these in more depth, as well as their specific projects, trends, and accomplishments over 2025. However, this is the high-level amount of those increases. Earlier, I mentioned about an additional $5 million in our operating budget. Outlined here, the majority of the increase is related to the increase in the transfers to reserves of approximately $2 million. Of this $2 million, a little over $1 million is transferred into our reserve funds, either asset management supported reserve funds or the growth reserve fund, also supporting different assets related to growth. Each year, the municipality does transfer an increased amount, an additional amount into those reserve funds to support our asset management plan. And this is part of our asset management funding strategy and the overall municipal reserve and reserve fund policy strategy. Next, a big increase in the budget this year is our wages and benefits of about $870,000. What makes this up is a cost of living increase of 2%, benefits increase of 5%, and that is an estimate as we are an ASO plan, meaning we pay for our own benefits and the actual usage of the benefits. There are some portions of our benefits that are insured. However, the majority is that ASO plan. And there are certain individuals and positions that are eligible for a step increase. Each step increase is an additional 4%. Those would be the wage and benefits increases across all the different departments. There are some positions that are also being suggested or proposed as part of the 2026 budget. Within our planning and development department, we have two positions being put forward. The engineering assistant, which is a temporary contract for 1 year. We also have the development review engineer. This position started in 2025 or was recruited in 2025, and the individual will be starting with the municipality shortly and be here also into 2026. This was a full-time permanent position. Both of these two positions are funded from the Housing Accelerator Fund. Within our community services department, we have two full-time positions being added. The first being the customer service representative. However, the cost for this is offset by less part-time hours. The second is a facility operator lead hand position. This position was on a trial basis within the 2025 budget and is being proposed as a full-time permanent position in the 2026 budget. In our Public Works and Engineering Transportation Department, we have a part-time equipment operator. This is for a summer, like a summer contract within that department. And then within our corporate services, there is the full-time 1-year contract at a manager level position to support the accounting software implementation. This was approved by council in September and is funded by reserve funds, so no impact on the tax levy. Additionally, there is a health and safety coordinator. These costs are offset by the removal of the corporate services customer service representative, which is a position within the municipality's corporate services budget, but will be removed in order to accommodate a health and safety coordinator. Those would be the high-level overview on the salaries and benefit changes. Next would be our OPP costs. At this time, this amount is still outstanding. However, notice from the ministry has outlined an 11% increase as a maximum for each municipality outside service enhancements. The municipality of Middlesex Centre has not requested any service enhancements at this time, so we have budgeted at the 11%, but we are still waiting on this. This is a $266,000 increase. Within our non-capital equipment, that is the accounting software of $350,000. This does not impact our tax levy as it is also funded by reserve funds. And in planning and development, there's an increase in our service costs, which is $1 million for development legal expenses. And within planning and development, there's another $1 million in the Housing Accelerator Fund division of planning. This is grant funded, but it's the expenses associated with that grant. Those are the high level impacts for our operating budget. Here you will see the chart that outlines the operating expenditures, the top 10 within the municipality over 3 years. This can change each individual year, but the majority does stay the same, especially when we're looking at our top operating expense, which is our transfer to reserves and reserve funds. This is 37, a little over 37% of the operating budget. This is to support the majority is capital projects. After that would be our wages and benefits, and then going into the subcontracted services and so on. You'll notice that some of the amounts have not increased significantly, such as our insurance. We were able to secure a very low increase in our insurance year over year, which was a great accomplishment, as many in the municipal industry have seen large increases in insurance. This is just a bar graph of the same information. And finally, the operating budget by department over the 3 years with the 2024 actual information presented as well. This is just outlined so you get a high-level overview of each department before we jump in. Teach. You will notice that within this bar graph, it remains relatively stable year over year for any of those operating expenses. At this time, before I start on general government, do we have any questions?
I don't see any hands. I think it's okay to go ahead.
Thank you. So through Mayor DeVete, for general government, we have some accomplishments that I would like to highlight for our 2025 year. Our long-range financial plans, the tax and rate-based, and the accompanying policies and strategies were all complete. This has been referenced throughout this entire presentation for the 2026 budget, and it will be one of those guiding documents into the future. Additionally, successfully within our HR department, successfully led the municipality to becoming a multi-site joint health and safety committee workplace and continuous improvement on that health and safety program. This is through the health and safety joint, our committee as well as our human resources manager. Within our clerks division, there was the development started in 2024, but the processes were improved for the Middlesex OPP Detachment Board. In 2025, there was the policies, procedures, process development, and this was led across the county for the entire board. It was a great undertaking for our clerks team. Within this, the municipality itself administers the Mobile Crisis Response Team Enhancement Grant, working closely with the OPP on this. And finally, implemented within our communications division, implemented a volunteer recognition policy to celebrate volunteers and encourage volunteerism in the community. It is extremely important that we do recognize all of the community members that give their time to make Middlesex Centre the amazing community that it is. Now, looking into the 2026 issues and trends. The continued focus on assessment-based management. So within 2025 and previous to this, each year the municipality and the finance staff look at how do we manage our assessment base and review any of that work. In 2025, we focused on home-based businesses. This will continue into 2026, as well as other assessment-based management strategies. This is in light of the continued lack of reassessment as the province continues to review the property tax program. There's continued focus on cybersecurity. This is important across the entire municipality, and it is a focus within the corporate services department and a high priority. With the passing of the municipality's artificial intelligence policy in 2025, there's continued work on the strategy component and in the effective and ethical use of AI within the municipality. And there'll be increasing focus on internal controls. This is something that the municipality and staff work on each and every year. However, with the increased amount of cybersecurity attacks, as well as other financial crimes aspects happening, internal controls are extremely important, and it is a focus. To highlight some of the 2026 projects that council can see within this budget and within the budget booklet, is the 2026 municipal election. I believe you'd all be aware that that's going to be happening in 2026. The cost of that for the municipality is $68,000 budgeted. We have the new accounting software and it's budgeted at $350,000 at this time. This is a high level estimate as no request for proposal has been done at this time. The completion of the strategic plan, the municipality's strategic plan will end in 2026. With this will come a lot of reporting and celebration within the community of all the things that have been accomplished. And there'll be the preparation for the 2027 new strategic plan, which will start in-house preparation with an RFP being completed for 2027. We have Ilderton's 150. Ilderton will be celebrating their 150-year anniversary in 2026. Included in the municipal budget is $15,000 of municipal support under our council grants program. We have a customer service survey at $15,000 as part of the customer service review, policy and process development. This was suggested that it be done every year, and we had said maybe every 4 years for every term of council. So it will be completed at the end of this term of council and ready to be reviewed and analyzed for the new term of council or the new council in 2027. And finally, the completion of the health and safety manual refresh. The operating budget for corporate services, general government is outlined below. And do I have any questions?
You do not.
So thank you. Moving on to building and bylaw services. Our director of building and bylaw services is not able to be here today. At this time, I will just highlight some of the trends for 2026 and from 2025. There is an anticipated residential activity to increase in the second half of 2026 and to exceed the 2025 construction indicator levels in Middlesex Center and throughout Middlesex County. The changing in the DC legislation also has a significant impact on the administrative processes within the building department. Full cost recovery of our building division's budget to continue through building permit fees and service changes to service charges to municipal partners. And we're supplementing bylaw enforcement budget by providing efficient services to our municipal partners as well. They're staying on top of all building code changes and the Development Charge Act, as both of these pieces of legislation have changed significantly in 2025 and could continue into 2026. The building and bylaw services budget is outlined below. Other than bylaw and animal control, all building inspection is self-funded. So that means that there is a reserve fund just specific to the building department that ensures that no money from the tax levy goes to support the building department. However, bylaw and animal control are supported by the tax levy, but they do both have revenues that help fund those two services. At this time, any questions for building and bylaw services?
I don't see any hands.
Right, thank you. So at this time, I'm going to pass it over to Justin Fiddler, the Manager of Community Services, to begin with Community Services and Facility Services.
Thanks, Tiffany. Through the Mayor, members of Council, thank you for the continued support. For the 2026 operating budget, the focus was to ensure that current service levels were being maintained while ensuring parks and facilities continue to receive high marks for maintenance and continual improvements to enhance safety for both spectators, participants, and facility users. As identified in the operating budget, community services will be updating the facility condition assessments for both facilities and parks. With significant investments over the last 5 years, some current ratings may and likely do need to be updated to reflect the most recent updates to facility infrastructure. Once the reassessments are completed, we will be sharing a report with Council, and at that time, the rating scales will be updated through asset management to reflect the most recent report. The parks and sports field budgets are similar to 2025, with ongoing turf and sports field maintenance ensuring continual improvement to both sports turf health and playability of sports fields. Investment into the sports turf health has improved playability of the sports fields, aeration, overseeding, top dressing, bi-monthly fertilizing. It adds to the overall health. Community centers continue to see updates to tables, chairs, kitchen inventory, and lighting, with preventative service continuing on HVAC, flooring, and kitchen equipment. This complements some more recent and budgeted improvements to kitchens and floorings throughout the community centers. Fire halls continue to see full preventative maintenance programs on all systems and infrastructure such as doors, openers, HVAC, roofing, etc. A noticeable improvement will be made to the air quality monitoring equipment in the Ilderton, Bryanston, Arva, and Delaware fire halls, as the antiquated systems have reached a point that sensors are no longer available. But as a bonus, there will also be a seamless integration into the exhaust fan systems, thus ensuring air quality at all times is maintained. Some additional dehumidifiers will also be added to some of the other halls, fire halls as well, based on the success of the Ilderton Fire Hall trial. By effectively drying the bunker gear and minimizing the relative humidity in the apparatus bays, this helps to minimize mold growth throughout the buildings. The Public Work Operations Centers continue to see replacement and PM maintenance on HVAC, air quality, overhead doors, air compressors, etc. Bryan's School will continue to see some ongoing asbestos removal, while minimal other maintenance, as with the new windows and roof and boilers recently installed. There's not the condition ratings has improved to good condition. Asbestos continues to be, I'm going to say, a little bit there still, not to the extent it's monitored every year, and it is removed on an as-needed basis. Some areas now we've caught up to, so some of the areas now that we're removing is areas that are out of the way or rooms that are not used as much, and some of the floor that is peeling or ceiling tiles that are starting to crumble. That's the areas that are done. So I'm happy to say that within the next year or two, asbestos will be fully removed from the building. So it should be a great highlight for council. Both the Kamoka Wellness Center and the Ilderton Arena will continue to uphold a high level of standard, ensuring preventative maintenance on all equipment, systems, and infrastructure, promoting the extension of life cycle for these facilities. With the Kamoka Wellness Center garnering the distinction of being one of the busiest two-pad multi-purpose ice rinks in the province, investment into maintenance and new technology is paramount to ensure ice quality and safety to all staff and users is never sacrificed. Within the 2026 operating budget, the Community Services Department is focused on customer experience, maintaining service levels while enhancing where possible, ensuring the health and safety for all staff, patrons, and participants while minimizing risk, creating a workplace culture and environment that gives the team an opportunity to excel, and looking forward to towards continuous improvement and business processes. And lastly, creating parks and facilities that are accessible to everyone. Thanks for your time and continued support and trust in the community services team. Any questions?
Okay, thank you for that. Council, are there questions? I don't see any hands. Thank you. All right, so the next one, let me just look here. His Fire Services, and Chief Toth will be presenting that document.
Thank you, Mayor. And through you, Fire and Emergency Services, as you know, offers professional services to our residents. Some of these services include emergency response, fire prevention, and investigation services. We do have a partnership with two of our additional municipalities for that. Public education programs, and we maintain 5 stations, 20 apparatus, supported by 118 firefighters, a robust and expanding training program, and 4 full-time headquarters staff. Quickly, some of our 2025 accomplishments. To date, Middlesex Center Fire has responded to 420 emergencies. This number includes the majority of our response types, but we are not including open air burning and second station response in that number. If we were to include all responses, we'd be at around 470. So just a quick context for 2024, we identified a total of 434 responses. We have conducted 292 fire inspections for our municipal partners and 9 fire investigations. Grant-wise, we were able to secure 41,000 in grants, along with 10,200 in smoke and CO alarm donations through our Enbridge Project Zero. MCFS is awaiting a notification of another grant that we applied for, and we're hopeful we'll get that one. and we're looking at approximately 8,000 on that number. So for 2025, at this point, we're at 131,713.98 for our grants. Public education, we've done a lot of public education with the community. We've attended Kamoka Market, a number of other community events. We continue to do our school Chalk It Up campaign, fire prevention and CO alarm and awareness week, and our door-to-door smoke and CO campaign. And finally, as of November 1st, I'm happy to report that our department revenue is sitting at approximately 181,000. So moving on to 2026 strategic goals, we continue working on our standardized operating procedures and our guidelines, and that modernization project we are confident will have completed in 2026. That is Fire Master Plan item number 14. We're expanding our overarching wellness program, which it has part of our peer support and oversight program, with increased rehabilitation and decontamination processes along with clear procedural guidelines. And as I mentioned in our capital and our unfunded piece would be the grant that I spoke about and the rehabilitation and decontamination equipment. Fire Master Plan item number 5. Deployment of our public education module, and this one's interesting. This will allow residents to be able to create a external login to our report management system and tag important items specific to their property. So when we respond, we'll be aware of anything from pets being on site to aging family members that may be unable to evacuate on their own. We're looking about $2,500 in costs for that, and that's coordinates with our Fire Master Plan number 15. And finally, for 2026, we'll be enhancing our public education through more in-person community events and increased public engagement, continuous school visits, and increasing social media outreach, with the intent to deploy new out-of-the-box ideas to educate our residents while focusing on selected fire hazards. Our challenges and trends have not changed from our current year and even 2024. Response volumes continue to increase between 5 and 10%. Rise in non-emergency calls continue to be a concern. Expanding regulatory training requirements means finding and maintaining a balance between required training and available time of our staff. Daytime firefighter availability shows some challenges, but only at certain times of the year. And finally, balancing wages with increased costs while maintaining our operational tempo and demands. All right, operation budget breakdown. It's on the screen now. Yep. So our increase this year represents 4.7% of the overall municipal operating costs. And we're sitting right now at 2.5 million. When we account for our revenues, we're around 2.394. Everybody can see the information on the screen there. One thing of note is with fire prevention, we approximately are able to recoup 50% of costs there with our partnership per year. Our year-over-year comparison, we're looking at an 8.48% increase, and that could be broken down into our pay modernization for our firefighters, which we council approved in 2004 for deployment this year, 2005. That's approximately 100,000. And the remaining covers our increases such as what Tiffany mentioned already about COLA and increased benefits. It also includes recruitment for us, legislated training, equipment upgrades and replacement, consumables, things like that. And that's approximately 87,000. So that accounts for our increase year over year. We feel the fire services budget reflects our strategic priorities, operational realities, and commitment to community safety. The fire services team continues to seek efficiencies, leverage grants, and adapt to evolving standards. So that's all I have. I would like to thank council for supporting our fire services. Every one of you supports us, and I know fire services and all our members really appreciate that, for your suggestions and your engaging questions. So thank you for that. But finally, I'd like to thank my fire service staff, and in particular, my deputy, who is my right and left hand. Our department teams are truly the ones who keep the wheels turning and the lights on, and are so instrumental in putting together these budgets. So I welcome any questions that council has.
Thank you for that, Chief. Are there questions? And the floor is yours, Councillor, when you're ready.
Thank you. Through you, your worship. Just for clarification, Colin, what is special operations?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. Through you, Mayor. To Councillor Burrs, our special operations covers our two teams. So we have our ice water rescue in Coldstream here, and we also have our high angle tech team, rope team in Delaware.
Good, thanks.
Is there anyone else? Alrighty, thank you for that. Then we can move on now to Public Works and Engineering, and Rob Cascaden is going to be presenting that.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. So I'm pleased to provide the 2026 operating budget for PWE. I'll start off with the Administration, Planning and Transportation component of the Public Works Department. So as you already know, the PWE admin planning and transportation sections look after the subdivision, zoning amendments, infrastructure design standards. We have now in-house GIS updating, asset management coordination within the department, as well as looking after the operations of the external infrastructure, being many lanes of kilometers of paved roadways, gravel roads, sidewalks, bridges, nearly 100 large culverts, and many municipal trees now that we have inventoried into our asset management. So I'd say PWE staff work effectively and efficiently to provide excellent service to our residents. We have a great team, both with the operations, external and internal. The 2026 operating budget is intended to maintain the existing service levels provided by PWE, including meeting the minimum maintenance standards for winter operations and meeting the maintenance needs for our roadway infrastructure, covering a whole host of items from tree removal and planting to ditching and road grading. We do some outreach to the community in May for the past number of, I think probably the last 3 years, 4 years. We've had a touch the truck event held in Kamoka in May of each year, where residents have an opportunity to come up and talk to our both our transportation and water wastewater staff, and fire as well emergency services participates in that event. So some trends that we have seen, again, similar to emergency services, they haven't really changed much over the past few years. We did see some cost implications coming out of COVID, where some costs were significantly increased. As noted earlier, with response to fleet capital, that has really leveled off. We're still seeing cost increases, certainly not decreases, but the rate of increase has flattened. There's a note about some continuous changes in legislation from the province. One over the last few years that has caused both some confusion and costs is the excess soil regulation that it does impact some of our capital projects, as well as how we handle soil from our day-to-day maintenance activities. And then, of course, climate change lens going forward for both capital projects and maintenance. How we look at that and are going to incorporate that into updated design standards. So that's one thing to highlight, is we've been looking at updating our design standards for the last few years. The intent had to go to a consultant in 2026, but with the new employee or development review engineer, to be specific, that's coming on board, the intent is now to take that on in-house and bring forward new design standards by the end of 2026. I shouldn't say completely new, just updated. And one of the challenges that we do have too is the contract timelines with contractors. As everybody knows, sometimes there can be difficulty with scheduling contractors, and they will move from one job to the next, and getting them back sometimes can be a challenge to finish jobs off. So we do sometimes, both across transportation and environmental services, can see contracts linger a little bit longer than we would like, and then longer than residents would like, of course. One success certainly in 2025 was the updated asset management plan that came to council earlier this year, and that was adopted. The departments have been have worked really well with Aubrey to start integrating the asset management software into their day-to-day work. The departments are largely now using the asset management and CMMS software to for their daily work orders, which is both preventative maintenance and ongoing maintenance that happens to pop up. Although the asset management is now required through the province, it's really critical to us to give us that longer term lens for asset management planning and proper planning of both renewal and just ongoing maintenance. So looking at our operating budget for 2026, transportation is just over $4.2 million, which is actually only an increase of less than 1.5% from the 2025. The administration is what 1.2 million, and that's an increase of only 1.35%. And then we have the planning number, which Tiffany had explained why that number is elevated in 2026. And then the smaller items related to drainage. But overall, the PWE transportation planning and administration component has a relatively small increase over 2025. Maybe happy to stop there and answer any questions on that section before I move on.
Okay, thank you for that. Looking for questions. I don't see any hands, so you can move ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So continuing on, fleet will be very short, so I'll just do the next two together. So fleet services, so is largely comprised of their two mechanics that's do the large component of the servicing for the vehicles. We do outsource some repairs if required, but we try to keep as much in-house as possible. So you can see the number of vehicles that are serviced by them. The fleet services budget has only had small increases over the last number of years. The one trend that we're looking at is the fleet electrification that we have considered. We have been, I won't say hesitant, but we have not, I guess, jumped to that. We do have a couple of electrical and hybrid vehicles, but the cost to replace large vehicles, either the equipment isn't there yet or the cost is still excessive. So really for us to target this in the future is to continue with light duty vehicles until more items hit the market. The fleet mechanics are also utilizing citywide for the asset management software and the work order tracking, which has been great. They've been picked that up well. And I think that's about it. Fleet makes up 2.5% of the overall total operating costs. So Public Works, Engineering, and Environmental Services. Again, just like the rest of the team, this is a great group of 9 individuals who work really hard to meet all the required regulations. You can see that we have a number of facilities. And one thing I want to touch on both with this and transportation is that the number of assets that we have, while substantial now, we're going to see some relatively significant increases over the next couple of years as we begin to assume some large phases of subdivisions. So while those assets will be in good condition, there will be additional cost in coming years related to those, both even from the additional hydro costs, say for the streetlights, that once we assume them, that cost will be carried over to the municipality from the developer. Oops, sorry. The trending issues would be similar to transportation. Some of the items that we do struggle with is the contractor timelines. We have been successful and happily so this year on both sides was seeing some aggressive pricing on projects, contractors that were eager to bid projects, but sometimes still completing the jobs can take longer than desired. Staff do continue to undertake condition reviews within the facilities to bring projects forward and to help ensure the proper function and full life expectancy. This again is where the asset management software and the work that all the operations staff have been doing with Aubrey, who is our asset management coordinator, to get the assets in and improve the condition rating of those. We on Public Works amongst the facilities, we do have good condition rating information. We will continue to expand that with our horizontal infrastructure. through doing some further reviews and some like Eric right now is currently doing some leak testing within Illiton, so things to improve the information that we have on the assets. The operating budget details for the environmental services, as you can see, wastewater is projected at about 4.7 million, stormwater at 1.35, water 4.3 million, and waste management at 1.1 million. One thing to note is that those items do include the transfer to reserves, since the water, wastewater, and stormwater are all self-funded through user rates. Those expenses do, and the budget does include the transfer reserves, which are significant. The transfer to reserves have been targeted using the BMA 2025 long-range financial plan targets that were set out to close the infrastructure gap over the next 15 years. So Tiffany identified the proposed rate increases for 2026 earlier, and a report to council will be coming for the adoption of those rates on the November 19th council meeting. And I'll stop there and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you for that. I see Councillor Burrs. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, your worship, to Rob. Waste management, blue bins. I sent out an article, you commented on it. Hopefully you copied everybody on it. The changes to the Blue Box program have occurred, or as of January 1st, funding goes to the private sector, but we'll see no changes here like Blue Water. So I have a few questions for you. Blue Water continues to collect, but there's a couple of segments of our population, small businesses and apartments will no longer be serviced by the Blue Bin program. Can you comment on that, or am I off?
Yep, through the mayor to Council Burrs. Yeah, so there's been a number of changes. So you're right. So we had the transition April 1st, 2024, when the cost of the recycling went to the producer. So we are still collecting the same rates that we were previously. We had a backlog of expenses that we had incurred. The ICI is currently, they had different segments that if you had already been receiving Blue Bin service prior to different dates, then you will still receive that service. But there are some changes coming. So in 2026, BRA, who does still provide the service for us, will not be able to do co-collection. So when they collect from the ICI properties, they cannot collect at the same time that they're collecting. They can't use the same truck that they're using to collect the municipal recycling. So it'll increase their costs. For 2026, though, we're not going to see a cost impact from that. In 2027, we may. Next year, BRA will have a better understanding of what that cost implications are. And I have heard from other municipalities where they are not fortunate enough to have the service through BRA that they're seeing those cost impacts in 2026, and that to continue collecting ICI is a significant cost increase from what they saw previously. So that will be of interest to see.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is there anyone else? I don't see any hands. So you're done now.
Yeah,
We can
thank
move
you.
on.
I'll turn it back over to Director of Financial Services.
Okay. Whenever you're.
So thank you. So through you, Mayor DeVete, continuing on with the operating budget revenue, we are in the final part of the presentation today. So operating budget revenue, there are specific classifications for revenue within the municipality. Outlined here are the majority of our revenue sources just at a high level. First would be our property taxes, then grants from federal and provincial governments. These are the transfers. These are formula funded grants that the municipality receives. 2 of these go directly to capital projects, and 1 is for operating. The capital would be the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund and the Canada Community Building Fund. The Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund is used for operating costs, to cover operating costs. We have user fees. There's a general category of user fees, and then we have user fees for the water, wastewater, and stormwater rates. And finally, there's other. This is miscellaneous revenue such as permits and licenses, as well as investment income for the municipality. Outlined here is just the percentage of the overall revenue by each category at a high level. So you'll see that the majority of our revenue for the municipality does come from property tax levied. This is consistent year over year. So looking at our tax rate increase that is being asked of council for 2026 is at 5.71%, which is up from 2025 when it was 4.27%. The tax levy is made up of the two parts, one being the tax rate, which is what council does decide when approving the budget. The second is the property assessment. This is provided by MPAC, and the municipality included in this presentation is not the final MPAC assessment. We do have that, and I will discuss that later on in the presentation. One of the biggest challenges that we face as a municipality is the fact that the 2020 assessment has still been postponed into its 6th year. The values for the properties that are happening now are still at the 2016 value. The province has put a hold as they continue to review the property tax program for municipalities, and at this time, there is no new information. Therefore, there is no assessment change unless you get your own, for example, so there is no reassessment. Any assessment change that any of our residents would receive would be regarding a change to the property, such as an addition, new construction, or renovation. This information does add to the growth into the municipality with respect to assessment, but there is no reassessment, which is a significant challenge. When looking at our assessment breakdown, it is very similar to what it has been in the past. The majority of the municipality's assessment is residential properties. Following that is our farm properties. Other only makes up 9.7% of all the assessment within the municipality. Looking at the revenue that's projected in the 2026 budget with respect to the different assessments, the majority of that does come from those residential properties. And you'll see that the residential properties have increased the most year over year. We've had small increases in our commercial and industrial, and one of our challenges is balancing our assessment mix to increase that industrial and commercial assessment base. This is something I know the municipality does prioritize, and economic development is an important component of what municipal staff are concentrating on, as well as part of the strategic plan as approved by council. When looking at our municipal tax rates over time, as mentioned earlier, 2025 is the biggest tax rate increase in the last 10 years at the 5.71%. Last year was 4.27%, which is also larger than anything in the past. The reason that we're having these large tax rate increases is the lack of growth within the municipality. The levy increase is actually lower than what we've had in the past, but this was due to that growth. As the community or as the growth continues to slow down and to stay somewhat stagnant, we will continue to have to put more pressure on the tax rate and all of the residents within the community in order to pay for the level of service everyone has expected and has been receiving within the municipality. Government grants, as noted earlier, we do have 3 formula-funded government grants that are outlined below. Another item with respect to the user rates was the water, wastewater, and stormwater fees. As mentioned earlier, the proposed 2026 increases are 4.5% for water, 5% for wastewater, and 9% for stormwater. Staff will be bringing forward a report and the associated bylaws at the November 19th council meeting with respect to these rate increases. That bylaw is a 2-year bylaw for rate increases in 2026 and 2027, with those rates being changed by the same amount each year. This is to provide stability for the residents and for the municipal budgeting. Additionally, we have the waste management fees as spoken about earlier. There is no change in the fees being proposed for 2026. Finally, with respect to our municipal fees and charges bylaw, that report will also be going to council on November 19th to be discussed. There are changes throughout different departments, and those increases that are being proposed have been included in the proposed budget that you're seeing today. Now, the bottom line, the impact on our ratepayers. These 2 charts outline the impact for the average residential property owner, which is assessed at $400,000, as well as the average farm property owner assessed at $1 million. These are for examples only. And if a resident or a business would like to find out what their proposed taxes is, once all tax rates are received, that information is available on our website where anyone can try to calculate what their taxes are going to be once we get the tax rates from the County of Middlesex as well as the school boards. At this time, when we're looking at that $400,000 assessment for a residential property, the proposed average annual change is $262, and for that farm at $1 million is $99. I do want to point out that many of our agricultural properties do have both a residence and the agricultural portion for the farm. They would experience both increases. Obviously, it could depend on the amount that the farm and the residence is assessed at. Once again, these are only examples. Not many farms are assessed at $1 million. Now, we're back to that slide I talked about at the beginning, the big picture. This is what we are looking at, and the ask is to council. The information that has been presented comes together in a 5.71% tax rate increase. This is the increase that council will be asked to approve on December 17th when the bylaws are presented to council. In order to get to that 5.71% increase, there's no levels of service cuts as described by our department directors. But in order to achieve that, staff did recommend, and this information is included in the booklet, to remove $313,900 from the tax rate stabilization reserve fund. And there was $100,000 less, $100,000. We had the projection for the growth reserve fund. We ended up transferring $100,000 less to that reserve fund in order to balance at that 5.71% tax rate increase. At this time, with the ask of the 5.71%, staff are recommending that if council is comfortable with proceeding with the 5.71%, any of the outstanding items that come in will be balanced to this rate, and any changes will balance to the tax rate stabilization reserve fund. So that $313,000 will change from this presentation to what is finally proposed to council on December 17th. So this brings me to our outstanding list and the final considerations. There is some information that has been received by staff that is not included in the presentation that you're seeing today. Of this, one of the biggest items is our Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund for 2026. Staff had projected this at the same amount as 2025. There is a report coming to council for November 19th, and this amount has increased. Additionally, there has been certain conservation authorities that have provided their actual proposed increase to, and that has changed slightly from the increases that we have within our budget here. Additionally, we are still waiting on the OPP costs, but our insurance, which was budgeted at 3%, has actually come in lower, around 2%. So there are some savings here within our operating budget. So that $313,000 tax rate stabilization reserve fund transfer is now down to, it's now been decreased by about $185,000, which is a great news story. However, we might have additional costs that come up between now and December 17th. And finally, included in that is the final assessment received from Impact, was received on November 3rd and will be included in the final. The assessment used for this presentation was October 23rd, and there were some additional assessments that were included in that. So overall, I do just want to point out those outstanding items as it balances to our big picture and that tax rate. At this time, I will open it up to council for any questions.
Okay, thank you kindly for that. Are there any questions? Clarifications? Okay, Councillor Cates, go ahead. Oops.
Thank you. Hopefully this is the right time. Well, first of all, I want to say that, again, great presentation. It makes, if you, pardon?
No, it's okay. Oh, okay, I thought it was moving. Oh, yeah, okay, we didn't do the recommendation yet.
Oh,
to receive.
Yeah,
We can do that
that's what,
following. the
okay. I was originally get to do the recommendation, but go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. And, you know, as usual, it's very clear when if, you know, a person is following along, they can see how everything fits together and pardon me, the importance of the asset management plan. I like the, you know, showing the different tax rates over time and the levy increase, et cetera. You know, you have to do what you have to do or it's going to catch up with you. And I think that, you know, lots of people face that. And of course, again, the need for the more commercial and industrial. So also at this time, I would like to, I have a motion that I'd like to bring forward. And I also want to just, pardon me, give a little bit of a background here. So I do have a motion regarding the crosswalk on Kamoka Road. Um, to, sorry, to give a little bit of background information, in 2021, the spring of 2021, when I first came on to council, they had just got approval from the county to have a crosswalk put in across there. So I just want to describe to you a little bit about the area. So there is a senior apartment with 40 apartments in it. There is all the residents on Caverhill and the post office is there. So many people walk to get their mail. And so when the crosswalk actually got installed, instead of being closer to the intersection at Duke Street where the post office is, it was actually installed closer to the railroad tracks. And so people aren't using it. Well, first of all, people are crossing instead of going down crossing and coming back. Secondly, nobody is stopping for anybody to go across there. I've seen it many times that nobody stops when you just stand there to wait to go to cross. And I know that there is most of the parents are driving their kids to school or they aren't letting them cross there because it's you know, of the risk, the safety factor there. I know that Andrew's team did an analysis one day and they saw 102 people crossing at Duke Street there to probably to go get their mail. There is a 2025 traffic count. The only thing I could find was from Glendon Drive all the way to 22 Highway at 2,735 in a day. So where they measured that, I don't know. Um, um, Andrew has put the 50-kilometer middle markers there as well to try to help with the traffic, the speeding. One of the things there is that if they're coming from the north and they fly over the railroad tracks because it's up a big hump, then kind of on landing, then that's where the crosswalk is. And so maybe it's not seen as well. So in my numerous discussions with Chris Trainey at the county, who he has given me the okay that we can have he will approve us having the crosswalk on the road there. We've discussed the reason why at that time that there was no lights at the location it is now, he said had to do with because of the railway, you can't have flashing lights that close to the railway. But the crosswalk is better suited to be moved down towards Duke Street where people cross to get their mail anyways. So his suggestion, if that's the right word, is to put the crosswalk close to Duke Street, the type B, which is the flashing lights, and I forgot what I was going to say. I know that, you know, some will say that the crosswalk probably doesn't meet the count of a true official crosswalk. I understand that, and that's where, you know, there's been advocating for numerous years, even before my time, to have it happen based on the safety risks. And I would, you know, I feel that probably the majority of our crosswalks that we do have currently, probably none of them meet the needs, but meet the numbers, but it doesn't mean that there isn't a need there. So the other thing that is the people, so on that side of Kamoka Road in the Caverhill subdivision, where there's probably at a quick count only about 40 kids that go to Parkview School. Some go to the Christian school. There's also the if you will, the missed opportunity to walk down to the youth center, to the Kamoka Community Center or the Wellness Center, not only for the youth, but also for the seniors as well. So I hope that I've kind of presented you with a clear picture. And, you know, Tiffany has kindly helped me with this suggestion for my motion. And I think that Tiffany did a good job of explaining the efficiency and improvement reserve fund and unfunded items. So with that, I'm hoping to have council support for my motion that the unfunded capital project 26-3827, being the new pedestrian crossing located at Kamoka Road and St. Clair, but I'm going to say bracket Duke Street, be added to the 2026 Middlesex Center capital budget in the amount of $95,000, and that the project be funded through the Efficiency and Improvement Reserve Fund. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. We're going to debate this item or comments and observations input on this item, and then we'll move back to the other pieces as we work through the questions from the other councillors, okay? So are there questions or comments, observations, or input on this item? Go ahead, Deputy.
You, Madam Mayor. I won't disagree with Councillor Cates that she feels this is necessary. My concerns lie in the fact that at the master transportation study the other night, I counted in Millerton alone, eight proposed or crosswalks what people want. When they don't fall in the criteria of requiring one, if we fund this one, we're setting a very big precedent that everyone that wants a crosswalk then has a right to ask for it, and we will be very difficult to turn them down if we approve this one. I realize Chris Trainee is saying, yeah, go ahead with it, but he won't fund it. It's on a county road, but he won't fund it. He'll agree to it, but he, you know, as long as we fund it, he won't fund it at all. So my concern is the precedents we're setting. If we do this one, it will lead to many more requests for crosswalks, and we will have a very difficult time saying no because they don't meet the criteria when we pass this one, even though perhaps we could defer this for a future traffic count. That would, if that comes to fruition and it shows that it's now warranted, then it could be put in next year's budget and be accomplished at that point in time because it would be warranted. So those are my comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to comment or weigh in? Go ahead, Councillor. Oops, sorry, try again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to Rob, are we even close on accounts for this to justify this as far as accounts go, or how far are we away from it?
Yep, sorry, through the mayor. Yeah, I can give some information, and maybe I'm going to relate it to the Longwoods one as well, just to give a bit of a comparison and perspective. So short answer is no. The pedestrian count was 109, and that's far off the level that is required to meet the warrant for the level of traffic volume on that road. it would have to, the traffic volume essentially, I'm just looking at the chart here, the the pedestrian count would have to be roughly 5 times what it is right now to meet that with the current vehicular volumes that are there. That being said, Longwoods at the pedestrian count only had 15 versus 109. However, there's differences between Longwoods and Kamoka Road. So I'm just going to kind of touch on those a bit on the differences that we see and why Longwoods was approved for one at a time. So Longwoods Road has a posted speed of 60 kilometers an hour. Kamoka has a posted speed of 50. Longwoods at the location has 3 vehicle lanes that would have to be crossed, where Kamoka Road has 2. The average speed from October 2025 on Longwoods was 66 kilometers an hour, where Kamoka Road was 52 kilometers an hour, and that was done in 2024 on Kamoka Road. The 85th percentile, again, higher on Longwoods, it was 76 kilometers an hour, where on Kamoka Road it was 61. And the vehicle counts, now these are not, as noted, they're not in the exact locations, like the AADT from the county. It just identifies it as being between Glennon Drive and Egremont, so where exactly that was taken. But the Kamoka Road was 2,700, whereas Longwoods was 7,700. So big difference in traffic volumes as well. Longwoods is identified as an arterial road, whereas Kamoka Road is identified as a collector road, which is so one step down from arterial. So no, it doesn't meet it. There are differences between them. I understand the desire to have a crossing there. The geographically, I guess, in the layout of the 2 areas too, is that the Caverhill neighborhood is kind of locked in by the ponds and surrounding it. Not a lot of opportunity for growth there. Whereas part of the rationale for Longwoods was because there was an opportunity for future growth as well. So Longwoods was roughly a third DC funded, I believe it was. Yeah. So happy if you have any other questions.
Thank you.
If I may, through you, to you, Rob, the other part was, to the extent that the warrants are met, the county will pay for the installation?
No. So our understanding and our experience with the county is that anything pedestrian related is municipally paid for. So we would enter into an agreement with them. They would have their contractor install it, but we would ultimately pay for it. Unless something has changed, but that's my understanding.
No, I just wanted to be sure, like, depending on which road and who's walking or not, or is it out?
All pedestrian infrastructure is
Yeah.
municipality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Any other questions from anyone on this? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Cates.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor, to Rob. So first of all, I just wanted to say, in understanding what Deputy Mayor says about setting a precedent, I don't know if that's the right word to say, because I think we've probably already set one several times. But my question to you as follow-up, now I forgot, how many of the other crosswalks that we already have fall under this not meeting the criteria as well?
So Andrew may be able to jump in on this one too. So the only crosswalk would be at Parkview School, right? And it's a higher class. It's right in front of the school. I'm not sure what the actual crossing numbers are there. I'm not sure if we have those. I assume that was looked at when that was installed. The other crosswalk would be at the north end of Illiton on Hyde Park Road. That was installed as part of the development agreement, I believe, at the time. I certainly think when it was installed, it was not, did not meet the warrants at the time, but the decision had been made to install that. If I can, I would just say that I understand the Deputy Mayor's comments, and staff are also concerned about opening up Pandora's box a bit. And I would say, so if council was to decide to move forward with it, I would have a clear justification as to why we're moving forward with it, so that there's a rationale as to why this one was approved, where maybe the next one wouldn't be. We're looking at the OTM standards right now. I mean, council could always choose to implement a lower standard, but still to have some cutoff, right? The active transportation master plan is looking at multiple locations. And as you pointed out, there's probably a number that are desired by residents. I think the active transportation master plan, the consultants are looking at probably a select few locations. And then ideally, they'll come back and they will identify, they'll rank them essentially, right? So if one has a higher traffic count or due to connectivity issues, would be the recommended one first. And second, whatever, whether they have half a dozen or whatever, I don't know where Kamoka Road will fit in. Maybe it'll be number one out of them. Maybe it'll be number 6. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure, Andrew, if you have anything you want to add on that.
And the timing on that?
Through the chair, to council, the timing of the active transportation plan is expected to be in front of council for March 2026.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, go ahead, Deputy.
Just for clarification, on the one on High Park Road, it's not lit. There are signs at that one stating that pedestrians must stop and wait to cross the road when there's no traffic. So it's a little bit different of a crosswalk, that it doesn't allow the pedestrian to have the right of way. Vehicles still have the right of way, and it's the pedestrian that has to wait and pick their time when they choose to cross. So it's a little bit different than what we're proposing here.
Go ahead, Rob.
Thank you to the deputy mayor. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So you're referring to the one at the medical center, or near the medical center? Yeah, I was referring to the one at the north end of Ilderton on the municipalities road.
Oh,
Clear skies. Yeah, so that one, it does have the flashing lights and the push buttons.
Yeah.
But the one at the medical center, right? So the reason it was done like that was because it didn't meet the warrants
Yeah.
at the time. So
Go ahead. Oh, oops, sorry. Hang on. There you go.
Excuse me. Through your Madam Mayor, I understand Councillor Kate's concerns. And I think maybe this has to be revisited when we actually do the master transportation plan, because I think that will either further her cause or maybe hurt her cause. But I think that's the time and the place for this discussion to have a proper conclusion. Thank you.
Okay, I think the clerk has developed a motion for us and,
Yep.
oh, sorry, go
Sorry,
ahead.
it was on. Yeah, just for clarification, so there was a crosswalk put across Longwoods at Springer and Victoria. And so that was just completed, by the way, this summer. We had to pay for it. By we, the Delaware Hydro Fund paid 65,000 of it. And it was in the development charges study because it appeared in the transportation plan. One of 2 that was recommended. I don't know if the second one went or not. But that's a little explanation there. And half the town is divided by Longwoods. And all I got was complaints that people can't even walk 2 blocks because they can't get across the road to go to school. We have 2 schools in there. So I think Sue has made her case. I think it's a positive case, but that's where I think it starts. And it has to be, to me, in the transportation plan. No one would move on it until it went in there. And then I talked to Chris Trainey about it. Then there was a possibility. So I like what we did and there's positive feedback on it, but the difference between Longwoods and Kamoka Road is day and night, traffic wise and speed wise. Ton of traffic going through there and they're going at speed. We also have those, what is it, radar speed sensors on Longwoods to try to telling you that you're going too fast. Does it work? I don't know. But anyway, there's a little background on it. So I'm not going to comment, and I understand where Sue's coming from pitching this. So I'll leave it there.
Okay, I'll make it last call then. Anyone need to add anything or ask any other question? I don't see any hands, so I'll ask the clerk to give us the motion that she's prepared.
Certainly, thank you, Chair. So through the chair to members of council, so Councillor Cates, you did put forward a motion. We don't have a seconder for it currently, so we would be able to proceed to consider a different type of motion. So just to clarify the process for everyone. So hearing the conversation here, actually, Councillor Cates, could you clarify the location again? We had Kamoka Road and St. Clair Ave, and you felt it would be Kamoka Road and Duke Street. Okay. Okay. So hearing the conversation of members, the resolution I've drafted is that consideration of unfunded capital project 26-3827 being the new pedestrian crossing located at Kamoka Road and St. Clair Ave / Duke Street be deferred pending the finalization of the active transportation plan. Does that sound agreeable? I've captured that conversation. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
so we know the wording of the motion, and that would be Councillor Kate's motion. Could I have a seconder, please?
Can you read that again, please, just so I'm sure.
Okay. There you go.
That consideration of unfunded capital project 26-3827 being the new pedestrian crossing located at Kamoka Road and St. Clair Ave or Duke Street be deferred pending the finalization of the active transportation plan.
Okay. All right. If no one, do we have anyone with questions or changes? None? Okay, so I'll have Councillor Arts is seconding. I'll call the vote. All in favor of the motion as read? Opposed?
In favor of the crosswalk?
No.
That's some explanation.
So did you want to reread, Councillor?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on a second. Hang on.
Certainly.
I think I understand.
Okay. So it would be deferred pending the finalization of the active transportation plan.
Okay.
And at that time, it could be brought back for
Okay.
consideration.
So I'll just ask again, all in favor? And opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried then. Thank you very much. Okay, now, just before we get into other discussions, what we need to do, the recommendation before us,
Sure.
receive,
Yeah, we can certainly,
we didn't do that yet.
okay,
Yeah.
yes, we'll proceed.
So the recommendation before us is that report CPS number 58, 2025 regarding the mayor's proposed budget 2026 and the 2026 draft budget book be received. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Cates, Deputy Mayor Brennan, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. So we can move to more questions, comments, additions, and removals. Anybody wishing to comment on everything we've heard? Go ahead, Councillor Shipley, start us off.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I just wanted some more information on 266159 Denfield PWE, add heat and smoke detection to the mechanics and apparatus bays. Now, if you want this from Justin or PWE or fire chief or whoever.
Through the mayor. Yes, this was in there, and it as an unfunded project through the discussions at the budget committee meetings, it was removed from capital, and we were going to accommodate it through some operational funds.
So it will be moving forward through the operational budget then.
Correct, through the mayor. Yes, so it has been started with mechanics bays already, and then we will be continuing with operational funds through the remainder apparatus bays as in the 2026 fiscal budget year.
Okay, thank you, Justin. And Madam Mayor, I have another one if I could. 267170 Arbor Fire Hall asphalt front and widen laneway. I was gonna make a motion on this, but I had an update that it's been dealt with, and maybe if someone can just elaborate on that, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the chair to Councillor Shipley and Council, we did receive this request from council members, and the team came together, and we have, through council direction, have confirmed that we can do the request and fulfill it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a large budget hit. We can do it through Andrew's PWE operational budget and use our asphalt resurfacing program to get what needs to happen.
Thank you very much. That's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wanting to clarify or ask questions? Go ahead, Councillor Arts.
Excuse me, through your Madam Mayor, this is a comment. I know people will be watching the last couple hours and they're going, those council members, they must be dumb as a post. They're not asking any questions. But what people don't realize is a lot of us on council, we do our homework before a meeting. So a lot of the questions or things that we had asked about. We've already asked, and staff is always very accommodating. They explain everything. So I've had this question asked before. How come you didn't ask the question? And I said, I already knew the answer. That's why I didn't. So I just thought that clarification would be good for the general public. Thank you.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. And Councillor Burrs.
Just to add on. Just looking, been around for a while. When you've been around for a while, you know, as Councillor Art said, you will talk to staff ahead of time if you need to, and the budget book is very thorough. Lot of background info there, so.
I just want to add on to Councillor Burrs's comment. This is a book that everybody should read. And I call it a book because it really, it has everything in it. And if you're a visual learner, there are diagrams and charts and pictures. And if you want to see the words, they're in there too. It's very, very comprehensive. And I think if you're a new resident coming here too, if you read this document, then you'll have a good idea of what's happening where across the whole geography of our municipalities. So thanks for planting that seed, Councillor. I think that's just me personally, but I mean, it's there. And if you've forgotten something and you need to find out, you can see what did we do there and then compare down the road as we go through the year too. So yeah, we've had lots of awards for this work that the finance team does. And I really think it's time well spent. It helps everybody around the horseshoe and in the community. So I'll stop there. Is there anything? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Brennan.
Just a comment. I didn't sit on the budget committee. For the councilors that did, I appreciate their extra time in working on this. To staff, very thorough. I know it takes a lot of time, and I'm quite appreciative of all the work that staff puts into putting this document together. And to follow up on Councillor Arts, I spent an hour and a half with Tiffany last Monday to clarify all my questions. So that's why I didn't have a lot today. I already had the answers. Tiffany provided me with everything, and Rob helped out too. So I just like to thank everybody that put this together, because it's a great help for me when I'm not involved in the budget preparation, but it certainly gives me a good insight to what's going on. So thank you to everybody that was involved in this.
Okay, I don't think there's anything else then. No one else. Right, okay. So in that case, we have to turn the page. Okay, so we have a recommendation before us that bylaw number 2025, number 86 be adopted as printed. Deputy Mayor Brennan and Councillor Cates, thank you. All in favor? And the last item is recommendation that the Council for the Municipality of Middlesex Centre adjourns the November 13th, 2025 special council meeting at 1:44 p.m. And I have Councillor Shipley and Councillor Arts. Thank you. All in favor? And